So this question, I'm going to start this question for you is this.
Okay.
Did you ever, when you were a kid, think, you know what? I don't agree with that, and I'm never going to do that when I become a dad or a parent. And I'm curious what those things. You immediately start shaking your head.
There's one silly one.
We'll start with that, and I'll.
I know
I'll share some.
I know there's one.
Okay.
I know there's one for sure that really irks me, but I'm having trouble remembering what it is right now off the top of my head.
Do you want me to start? While you
no,
think
there's
about
a silly one.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
I was never gonna stash something from my kids that they couldn't have. Right?
Yeah.
Which that bothered me as a kid, but now I totally understand where you're coming from. So for context, your favorite ice cream flavor is
mint chocolate chip,
and specifically
Breyer's mint chocolate chip.
chip. It's not green, it's white. And it is the best.
It's good.
It's the best.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I remember every now and then you would come home aching for that mint chocolate chip ice cream.
Man doesn't want a whole lot in his life, but when he's got a flavor, when you have a flavor in your mouth,
like I said,
and you have
as
some
a
left
kid,
over. Yeah.
As a kid, I was like, "You're an adult. Go buy more." Yeah. That's what I thought. Right. I was like, "Why are you getting on me for wanting some of your mint chocolate chip ice cream?"
By the way, we always kept extra ice cream around.
No, yeah, but
we always had chocolate and strawberry.
Walmart brand chocolate.
Yeah,
it wasn't.
That's true.
It wasn't the premium. Yeah, it wasn't the premium stuff.
So it's not like we weren't letting you have ice cream. It was just save that.
But when I got a taste of the Breyer's mint chocolate chip, I'm a child. Of course, that's what I want now.
Of course, you always want what you can't have, don't you?
Yeah.
So,
but you would go, here's your, waxy chocolate. I'm just playing. I'm playing. I'm getting over dramatic. Yeah.
I love it. But that's how it felt.
Yeah. Here's your doo-doo brand Neapolitan. There's 3 flavors in it, kids. Don't you love it?
Yeah. Which one do you want?
If I scrape across, you get all 3. Why would you possibly want the mint chocolate chip
of this doo-doo brand?
This doo-doo brand Neapolitan.
Yeah.
That comes in a big jug for $1.95.
A big jug.
Yeah.
It's like 5 gallons.
Yeah.
And afterwards, you use that as a 5-gallon drum to put oil in or something.
After that, it either became a popcorn bucket or a throw-up bucket. You know what I mean?
Or probably both.
And had a handle on it.
Probably both at the same time.
Yep.
I got you.
Yeah.
Man.
Now, if you wanted that tactic to work, you should have never let me try the mint chocolate in the first place.
I didn't realize I did. Now I know.
Yeah.
I'm sure at some point because we all know when you come home and there's some ice cream, you'll start tasting it almost while you drive home, and you're like, and then you get home and it's gone.
Yeah.
And
like I said, I understand the logic of it nowadays.
Yeah.
100% I do.
But back then it was tricky.
Back then it bothered me quite a bit.
So I've got a silly one too.
Okay.
And you probably know this one because, so when I was growing up, pizza was expensive.
Yeah.
And I had 3 brothers and 1 sister, so there were 7 of us in the family. And my dad would hunt down, so we'd have pizza night maybe once every 2 weeks. And that was the best night.
Yeah.
Because my mom really didn't cook a lot of great meals. We were,
it was government beans and cheese.
It was, a lot of beans. And by the way, I can't stand beans now. I mean,
baked beans at a barbecue.
Even
so, huh?
I'll eat them, but I'll find something else first.
Yeah, you're like, I'm hitting coleslaw and potato salad and stuff like that first. Okay, beans is last.
Yeah, if I have to eat beans, I will, and then it don't taste bad, but it's a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah, and so my dad would find a coupon.
And government peanut butter.
Yes, came in a can. The top half was oil, the bottom half was cement. You had to stir it every time. Oh. Yeah. That's what we ate.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't even know Jif existed until I was like 14.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine said, "What is that?" I said, it's peanut butter. And he's like, "That ain't peanut butter. Let's go to my house." Oh. And we went to his house and he had Jif, and it spread, like when you spread the peanut butter I had on a piece of bread, it would rip the bread apart.
Yeah. You had to toast the bread to give it a little bit of structure.
Really, you had to put it on so thick, you just had to kind of just slop it on. You couldn't really spread it. You just slopped it on.
You dolloped it on there.
Yeah, and Gary says, "What is that?" And I said, "It's peanut butter." He's like, "That ain't peanut butter, man."
Try
And
some
so
Jif.
once I saw Jif, and I'm like, "Holy crap!" I was, yeah.
You're like, now I know why there's a butter in the peanut butter.
Yeah, I thought it was just peanuts crunched up a little bit, with oil. But anyway, yeah, we ran off a tangent there.
Sorry.
Yeah, so my dad would, so we'd have
Pizza
pizza
night.
night. And my dad would have to find a coupon because back then, if you found a coupon, you could buy a large and get a medium for free.
Okay.
So that's the only way we could afford it. And so we'd get a large pepperoni and a medium cheese, right? And my mom would cut them into these slices.
What was the joint? Was it like a chain? Was it like a Pizza
Inn or
Hut?
something.
Okay.
But even then, it was more expensive than it is now. Back then, pizza was expensive. It was like $20 for a large.
Really?
Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah.
So the only thing that hasn't inflated is pizza.
Pizza's dropped like dramatic. Well, a lot of foods have.
Sure.
Pizza specifically.
Those easy access foods,
Yeah,
right? Maybe, especially right now, maybe groceries as a whole have gone up.
Yeah.
But quick food is as cheap as it's ever been.
And by the way, I don't remember ever eating out with my family
Okay.
until one of my brothers got married, my older brothers, and my grandma came in town and took us all out to dinner. And we all sat around this big...
She had that
she had
retirement
some
money.
Yeah, she married rich. Yeah, Grandma did. Grand Dolly.
Grand Dolly.
Yeah, she married Grand Charlie, and Grand Charlie had a little money.
What did he have money from?
He had worked at an oil refinery his whole life and had huge
And never spent
pensions.
any money.
Yeah, and he had 900 acres in East Texas. He had lived in the home he grew up in and built his own. Yeah, so he was never married
built different until
he married Grand Dolly when he was 65. So single man until he's 65.
Okay, so Grand Charlie wasn't her first husband then, huh?
No, Grand Dolly had like 9 husbands. You're laughing. One of them was the same guy 3 times.
Whoa, dang. She said, I don't like him anymore. Never mind, I want him back.
She went back, yeah.
3
The
times.
same guy 3 times. I might be exaggerating 9, but I guarantee it was 7, at least 7.
Boy, you and Mom staying together really was a miracle, wasn't it? Compared to the
let me tell
family
you.
history.
Oh,
Compared
yeah.
to the family history.
We were determined.
Yeah. We're hitting tangents and I'm loving it. This is fun.
But,
Grand Dolly had 9, maybe. I mean, 9.
I want to say
husbands.
7 marriages, yeah.
And 3.
But
to the
Grand
same
Charlie was
guy.
her last one,
Sure.
and he had a bunch of
And they
acreage out
passed
in East
away
Texas.
together.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Great dude. And he
Yeah.
was my grandpa, by the way. My real grandpa, his name was Roy. He was a mean old dude.
So, Grandma Sherry's dad is Roy.
Was named Roy, and
Okay.
he was known for not liking kids.
Oh, cool.
And I was a kid.
Yeah.
So he was mean to us,
Yeah.
and I was like, we go visit him. I was just like, I'm out. I'm staying out of his way. Yeah. So anyway, so we'd buy these 2 pizzas, and my mom would make a big giant salad.
Hold on. Sorry. I'm still living in that tangent
That's
with
okay.
Grand Dolly.
That's okay.
Where did Grand Dolly take y'all to go to dinner?
I want to say,
So the first time you can remember eating out with your family is when Curtis gets married, your oldest brother.
Yeah, Curtis.
And when was that?
He got married before I graduated, so it was probably
Okay, so you were
83.
16 or 17.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was pretty young.
I didn't realize he was that much older than you.
Yeah.
Okay.
But she took us to a place kind of like Shari's around here. You ever been to Shari's?
Shari's.
Or-
I know Sherry's. It's kind of like a diner breakfast. It's got pies.
No, this would be kind of like, it wasn't a Chili's, but it was kind of along those same lines, but it was a little bit
Okay. More
nicer.
home style, maybe.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. You know what? Cracker Barrel.
Okay, perfect.
Basically
Yeah.
that kind of a place.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I remember me and Keith, my little brother,
Yeah.
we gorged ourselves, man.
Yeah.
Because it was good food.
I bet it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, my dad would buy a large and a medium pizza.
Okay.
And my mom would cut these slices.
Because they
I'm
come in
telling you
8
what-
slices already pre-cut,
Yeah,
right?
well, they weren't 8 by the time she finished cutting them.
She made them into 24 or something.
Yeah. And you'd get 2 slices of pepperoni because it was the large one, but it was just really 1,
Yeah.
and a quarter of cheese, and we'd all share, right? And so you get 2 slices of pepperoni, but it was really 1 and a quarter of a cheese. And I remember thinking as a kid, this is just a freaking tease, man.
Yeah.
And I would say, I'm still hungry. She'd say, fill up on salad. So just enough pizza to where you're like, this is so stinking good. It's gone.
And then it was gone. Yeah.
And so I thought, when I was a kid, I remember thinking, I will never do this to my family.
Yeah.
If I can't buy enough pizza for everybody to get full, I will not buy pizza. I just won't buy it.
Yeah.
And to this day, I still buy way too much. We could get away with 2 and I buy 4.
Yeah.
And there's always leftovers. There's plenty
I've
of
done
pieces.
that too when I've brought over pizza. I always bring an extra one on accident.
Yeah,
because
we buy
it's I've inherited that.
And all
basically.
my kids know that story too.
We're gonna eat all the pizza we want.
Because it bothered me so much, and I know how silly it was, and I understand why they did it.
Yeah.
But that's one that just sticks with me that I can't get over. And I have another one if you still haven't.
Go for it.
Okay. So my other one was.
Is this because I think I remember mine was a phrase I got told that I said.
Yeah.
Is yours also
It's
a
a
phrase?
phrase. Yeah.
You do your phrase
Okay.
and then I'll. Okay.
So when I was a kid, I had a little brother named Keith that's 4 years younger than me. So I'm 12, he's 8, right? So he's really, there's quite a few years in between us, but I hung out with him mostly because my 2 older brothers kind of hung out together, and me and Keith hung out together.
Yeah.
So he's quite a bit younger than me, and quite a bit smaller.
From what I know about Curtis and Craig, the older 2, they wanted to get into stuff too. Like,
Well, my older brother was pretty good.
No. I don't mean in a mischievous way.
Okay.
What I mean is when they got into having a driver's license, they really got into having a driver's license. And when they got into dating, they got really, you know what I mean? They were looking to be mature.
Yeah, they were.
Right?
For sure. Not
Not to say that they aren't goofy or don't have that.
Yeah.
But
they do.
the older 2, yeah, they do for sure.
Yeah.
The older 2, from what I know about them, I can picture them as young kids being like, no, I'm growing up.
Right. Well, Curtis was the oldest
Which kind of
son.
leaves the younger ones behind a little
Right.
bit.
Curtis was
Yeah.
the oldest son, and he was always the mature, take care of things. Craig was a little tricky. He gave my parents a lot of problems.
Mischievous a little bit,
But he was always trying to get out of the house. He was always trying to escape the lunacy that was in our house.
Yeah.
So it left me and Keith, right? Mm-hmm. And Keith had something my mom labeled hypoglycemia. I don't even know what it means, but some kind of low blood sugar or something.
Yeah.
So when when his blood sugar
Undiagnosed diabetes
Yes,
or
there you
whatever.
go.
Yeah.
When his blood sugar, and by the way, my mom had it too.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
when there's sugars or whatever, I don't know.
By the way, when I hear
all made up stuff,
when I hear hypoglycemia, the only thing I can picture is in a cartoon, a nerd in a cartoon with big Coke bottle glasses going, I can't do that. I have hypoglycemia.
well,
That's what I'm
that's
picturing.
how I felt about it.
Yeah.
Because Keith,
You're like, what a little weenie.
yes, Keith had hypoglycemia, which meant if something didn't go his way, he'd get really, really mad and lose control.
Yeah.
And mom claimed that was hypoglycemia, not an inability to manage and control his anger.
Sure. Yeah.
And Keith had no line he wouldn't cross. For instance, Keith used to love to drink milk.
Yeah.
He was constantly drinking
I'm
milk.
cutting you off.
No.
The thing that bothered you most about it was the hypocrisy, right? Because you said
Yeah.
all of us have very strict lines on what we are and aren't allowed to do, but Keith ain't got no limits.
We would get the crap beat out of us. And one of the reasons we would is because my mom had hypoglycemia.
So she was volatile also.
She was volatile. Yeah. You used the wrong rag to clean the bathroom, you were liable to get hit with a switch or a fly swatter or whatever was available.
Yeah.
And so Keith comes along, and Keith now has hypoglycemia.
Yeah.
I don't know what it means, but I know if they lose their temper, they can't control it. And Keith loved to drink milk in glasses
Yeah.
because I think milk is better in glasses anyway.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, I'm projecting. I don't know if this is true or not. The plastic cups weren't as big a thing back then, huh?
No, they weren't, but they were around.
Okay.
So he could have used them. But he would walk around the house, I'm not kidding you, drinking milk in a glass. And he would carry it around with him. Kind of like people would carry around soda in a slurp bottle.
Like they're walking around their loft with a whiskey.
Right.
He was swirling it like this. Yeah. It's a good year.
Right. and he might be 8 years old, right?
Yeah.
And he's walking around with this glass.
A smoking jacket on and everything. With a Jimmy Dean sausage between two fingers.
A Scooby-Doo smoking glass.
Jimmy Dean. Between two fingers.
There you go. With his milk. Yeah. And he had a tumbler he poured all into the air to let it breathe.
Yep.
By the way, I only know that because I saw a guy do it one time, and
A tumbler.
We don't drink.
We're not a drinker. Yeah.
Yeah. So he would, and somehow or another, he would always get mad at me, and he would take that glass of milk. I'm telling you, it could be a quarter full, could be all the way full, and he would just throw it, and it would hit me, and glass would hit me, and milk would go everywhere. And guess who got to clean it up?
You did.
Now, here's where it got
Yeah.
really bad.
Let me stop you because I'm building a story.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because here's what I'm imagining, and tell me if I'm imagining this glass.
Yeah.
Right? And what I'm not imagining is, thin glass cylinder with a thin glass bottom. Here's what I'm imagining. I'm imagining like that much glass
On the bottom.
On the bottom.
That's the way they were.
And then it was thick glass around, and it was ornamented. So
Yeah,
it had
yeah,
like
they all
grooves
were.
and
Right.
so it had like some texture to it, right?
Yeah, and they were all mismatched because you get them at thrift stores, right?
Sure,
you buy
sure,
one
sure.
of them.
So we're talking about a hefty boy.
Yeah, they weren't messed. It wasn't
And
messing around.
it had barbs on it because
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
texture, right?
And that heavy part at the bottom, so it keeps it from
Yeah,
tipping over.
yeah,
You're
kinda
right.
the way a
now
cat-
they might not have all been too thick because some of them are pretty cheap.
Sure.
But I do know this: I dodged so many glasses of milk. But here was really what, and it would be something as stupid as, I'm like, Keith, hey.
It's your turn to clean this.
Yeah. I clean the bathroom. You clean that bathroom. I'm not going to that.
Throw it at you.
Yeah. And so I would go to my mom and I'd say, what the crap, man? The kid.
Bro has a hair trigger. He'll
Yeah.
just
If I do something like that, I get the crap beat out of me.
Yeah.
All of us, me and my two older brothers.
Yep.
I see he's freaking throwing full glasses of milk at me.
Yeah.
And here was her reply. You're older, so you should have known better. Right? Yeah. Over and over and over. And I'm like, I will never, ever say that to any of my kids. Because I will not. It seems so unfair and so crappy to me,
Yeah.
And so that's it. That's the other. I will never do that. And there are other ones I think that I'm conscious of, but aren't as big a deal to me. But those two are just huge. And I never said it to you or any of my kids.
Yeah.
Ever did I say that.
Yep.
And I think Mom was going to say it one time, and I stopped her.
Yeah.
And I said, no, we're not doing that.
We can't. Yeah.
And I also think she wanted to get pizza one time.
We have to
were
break
like,
the chain.
We have to break the chain. We need to be transformational parents.
Yeah.
And break the chain of
This generational
cycle.
trauma. We have to stop it now. It stops here.
Break the chain. This horrible cycle of hypocrisy. We have to break it.
Such BS, man.
Man, you know what? When we didn't get any pets, her dad was mad. Her dad loves pets.
Yeah,
Shelly's-
we were never pet families. The most we had was a beta fish in a jar.
Yeah. We had frogs, I think, once too. Little swimming frog. Ricky had some.
Some tadpoles or something?
No, they were frogs that stayed in the water all the time. They were like almost
sea
like
monkeys?
fish. No, they were almost like fish, but they were swimming frogs, and they never came out of the water.
By the way, sea monkeys, that was a scam, right? It was just sand in a jar, in a water jar.
I think there was. I don't know. I think there's something to it. I think they're more than sand.
For anybody who doesn't know, I feel like there was an era in the 90s
Yes.
where kids were getting
Earlier than that.
sea monkeys.
Yeah, it goes way back before that.
And it was basically microscopic little buggers.
Yeah, they sent them to you in a sack,
Yeah.
like a little envelope,
Yeah.
and you poured it into water. And I think it was some kind of microbiome
Yeah.
that once you dropped it into water, it would kind of come to life a little bit and then swim around and then die. But I can't be sure. I mean, that's a great.
That's what I'm
question.
saying. I think it was
Yeah.
just sand.
It could have been. I never had any. We couldn't afford.
We
sea
had
monkeys.
some. We had some. I remember, yeah. You know what I remember getting them? I remember
We got you sea monkeys.
what, because, dude, here we go, right? The reason we had them is because there was an episode of Rugrats
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember that.
where
now.
Tommy and Chucky and the gang,
They got some sea. That's
they
right.
got some sea monkeys, and their mission on that episode was to return them to the ocean.
That's right.
So they put them in a cooler when they went to the beach, and they were trying to get that cooler to the ocean the whole time.
There you have it.
Boy, what a memory. So
I wonder
so
how
anyway,
many. I wonder how many missions that kids have are based on Rugrats, or
right. So
SpongeBob.
So I
or those
I
kind of
remember
things.
seeing that Rugrats episode, and going, it'd be great to have some sea monkeys.
Yeah.
And the only reason we got them is because we went to the Science Center or whatever it was in Dallas. I don't remember what it was.
Well, it had to be more than sand than if it's at the Science Center, right?
That's what. Yeah. Sure.
Look on your.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
I think there's more to it. I think there's
There
more
could
to
be.
it.
There totally could be. Right.
So what happened when you got the sea monkeys at the Science Center?
Oh, we brought them home. They had their little terrarium because they sold you like the terrarium. And
Oh,
the thing.
they packaged it up.
That's
So it wasn't a nickel.
yeah.
It was some money then. Okay.
Yeah, and that was my because usually when we would go do stuff like that, it's like, hey,
pick out one
you
thing.
give each kid $5 or whatever
There
to
you
eat
go.
what they want. You
Yeah,
know what I
yeah,
mean? And that was the thing I brought home
Right.
because of that Rugrats episode.
Right.
Right?
Well, the reason her dad was always pushing her to get a
Oh
pet.
yeah, I forgot where we were.
Yeah.
Okay, we didn't have pets growing up. We had sea monkeys, we had a betta fish, and Ricky had tadpoles at one time,
Well,
or monkey,
little
sorry,
frogs.
frogs.
Yeah, but they're fun.
Yeah,
If you haven't,
but
if
we
you
were
haven't
not a
seen
pet
them.
home.
No.
And that bothered Grandpa
It bothered
Bobby
Grandpa Bobby.
because he is.
He had turtles and fish and dogs and cats and squirrels, and he had everything, right? So I remember one time, but we had just gotten married, and we go over to their house. You know, when you first get married, you go to your parents-in-law's house and have dinner regularly.
Yeah.
And so we go over there, and Bobby's distraught.
He's just got a look of dread
Yeah.
on his face.
I said, "What's going on, Bobby?" He said, "Well, I hadn't seen my turtle in a couple of days, and so I went out there and I couldn't find him anywhere. So I started digging, and I dug him up, and he had died.
Like he burrowed himself into the ground
and he had died
to die.
And I guess the squirrel,
Yeah.
the turtles he had would burrow down. You know,
What do you think the turtle's name was?
I can't remember the turtle's name, but it was usually something silly.
Yeah.
They had a little chihuahua named Precious, so that'll tell you how silly
Yeah.
their names were.
So
So anyway, he tells me this.
treasure the turtle.
He tells me this, and he says, "Yeah, I had to dig it up, and it was dead." I said, "Well, you should have just left it buried then." And Shelly and Darlene, Shelly's mom, said, "No!" And I'm telling you, I've never seen him so close to like.
I'm gonna go get my gun out of my
Yeah,
safe.
he was ready.
Yeah.
He was ready. Because when we got married at our reception,
Yeah.
he walked up to me. Shelly's dad was probably 5'4", 5'5", little man.
Yeah.
And he
Do you know
walked
who he
up to
reminds me of?
Who's that?
But not for the mentality, because Grandpa Bobby is the sweetest dude.
Greatest dude.
The greatest dude ever, right?
Yes, yeah.
And he doesn't waddle the same way. It's
Right.
Hank Hill's dad from King of the
Yeah,
Hill,
he's
Cotton Hill.
Right, because he has
Right?
some of those southern tendencies in him.
Yeah. He doesn't waddle the same way.
No.
But if you want a height reference, it's Cotton Hill.
Yeah. And so he kind of waddles up to me at our reception.
Yeah.
And there's hundreds of people there, and he walks up next to me, and Shelly's over there doing something else, talking to somebody.
By the way, I want to say
says-
something else about Bobby, right?
Greatness, by the way.
Up until a few years ago, he still has a great head of hair.
Oh yeah.
And up until a couple of years ago, maybe 5 or 6,
Yeah.
jet black,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So not only was it a good head of hair, it had all the color in it and everything, right?
right.
So dude's a handsome guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he walks up next to me, and he kind of looks seriously at me. He kind of turns me
This
towards
is on
him.
your wedding day.
On my wedding day.
Yeah.
And he says, "Hey, I just want to let you know if you ever think about hitting Shelly, then go ahead and shoot yourself, because that's what I'm going to do." And I said, "Bobby, I would never hit Shelly." And
Yeah.
He said, "Okay, I just want
You
to
better
let you
keep
know."
that same energy. Yeah. Yeah.
And the seriousness on his face, it was similar to when I told him to leave the
He gave you that same look.
that was the same look
Yeah.
that I had
He had
seen.
the same level of seriousness for "Don't beat my daughter" as "I can't believe you talked about my
Yes,
turtle that
my
way."
turtle. I should kill you.
Interesting.
He was letting me know.
Yeah.
Like there's some men, they don't have to be big men, but when they look at you a certain way and they say,
Yeah.
"Listen,"
Yeah.
then you better pay them real close attention.
And that's a testament to how sweet Bobby is.
yes.
Is that he never went there.
No.
So when he
never
did, it was serious, right?
yeah. Uncle, your grandpa Bobby. So
And I said was as in was
he's
and
still-
is. He's
yeah,
still alive. Yeah.
Right. So one of the
I
things
haven't seen him in a few years. We need to
did.
head out there and go see
Yeah.
him.
One of the things he did for me early on in our marriage, and Bobby was always doing the sweet. I had to watch what I say, because if I hinted that we needed something,
Yeah.
or he would just show up with it.
Bobby was the spoiling grandpa too,
Yes.
right? He would
He money in your pockets when you
put money in your pocket, and then he would have you do a chore and pay you 10 times what it was
Right,
worth. You know what I
right.
mean? As a
So he
grandkid.
found out.
Do you want? Can I tell you a quick Bobby?
Yeah,
thing?
go ahead.
It's this is funny because it kind of feels the same as your Keith story,
Yeah.
right? Like, why is this for me but not for him? Kind of
Yeah, yeah,
deal,
yeah.
right? Bobby would give me and Zach, my next youngest brother, chores
Right.
around their house, whatever.
Sure.
Pulling off, raking leaves. One time they cut down that big tree in front of their place, and we needed to haul stuff off, right?
Right.
And he was like, "I'm going to pay you each $5, right?" Which is,
Back then, big money.
yeah, that's
Yeah. More than
huge
you
money.
deserved.
More than you deserve, right?
Sure.
So he was, "I'll pay you $5 to haul this stuff off," right? And something that always irked me is I always felt like I was doing way more work than Zach
Zach.
was.
Yeah.
Right?
Gotcha.
And I've since kind of shed this behavior, but at least I hope I have. But I would look around and go, I'm more deserving than that dude, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Which is not a good, like I said,
We all go through that.
We've all go through that, but
Yeah.
but it's typical of an 8-year-old, right?
Sure.
So I'd go, Zach's not doing hardly anything, and he's still going to get his $5,
Still gonna get his $5,
right?
yeah.
He came in at the 12th hour, and he's getting
Yeah,
the same. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah, I
Yeah,
know
it's
what
exactly
you're
what the parable is about, right?
That's what I was thinking as soon as you started talking about it.
Well, I remember Bobby, after we were all done, went up and said, "Here's your $5, Zach."
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then I was walking in the house, and he waited, and he came up to me. He said, "You did way more work than that sucker. Here's $8."
There you go.
Right? And I was
Bobby
like,
saw it too.
and I was like, Bobby's the man, dude.
Bobby's the man.
Bobby's the man.
Yeah. You know what?
And Bobby is the man.
After your mom and I got married, I picked up golf.
Yeah.
I went to a thrift store, and I found these irons on sale for 50 cents a piece, and you could get all the irons for like $5, right?
Yep.
2 through 9. And I'd never played golf, but I could buy all these irons and a bag and a bunch of balls for $5,
Yeah.
So I'm like, you know what? There's a football field near me. I'll just hit the ball back and forth.
Yeah.
So I go over to the football field and start hitting the balls back and forth. And I realized pretty quickly I played a lot of sports.
Yeah.
I'm reasonably good at it.
The hand-eye coordination is
I
translating.
can hit the ball between the goalposts regularly from the very beginning without any training or anything. And so I thought, you know what? I've never been to a golf course. So I go over to a golf course in Oak Cliff, Kessler Park golf course. And I show up in tennis shoes and shorts and a bag with nothing but irons.
Yeah.
And there's a guy standing next to me. I get partnered up with this guy, and he's fully decked out.
Yeah. He's got
Serious.
He's got that stupid hat with the pom-pom on it
Yes,
and everything.
serious.
Plaid pants.
And he is not happy
He's like, I am.
because he says, you don't
he's
have
like,
any woods?
He's
And I
like,
said,
I'm golfing with a street rat.
yeah,
Is what he thought.
And that's what I was.
Yeah.
And he says,
Your tennis
you
shoes
don't-
had grass
you
stains
don't-
on them from
they
mowing
were-
the
it was
lawn.
horrible, man. Yeah. I don't think I was wearing any socks.
Yep.
And so he looks at me and he says, you don't have any woods? And I said, this is the first time I've ever played. So you might have to be patient with me.
Yeah.
So
Which you would think would soften the dude's heart,
you would think.
but it didn't. It didn't.
Well, it did initially
Okay.
until
Uh-oh. I see where this is going.
we're scoring the same.
You're as good as he is.
I'm shooting, bogey or double bogey golf, and that's what he is too.
Oh, no.
And he'll take his driver and hit it, 250 yards, and I'll take my 2-iron and hit it down there, 190 or something, and almost as far as him. And then I would hit it on the green, kind of like him, and I was chipping it. I mean, I'd been over at the high school just hitting it back and forth.
Yeah.
I was figuring this out.
Yeah,
It wasn't
yeah,
like I'd never swung.
Yeah.
And I
You
was
were putting with
good
an
that
iron?
day. Yeah.
You putting with it?
No, I had a
Okay,
putter.
you had a putter. Okay.
So listen to this. We get to the ninth hole. So we just played 9.
And you're scoring evenly, basically.
Yeah, and he knows it. He's tracking.
He's
this.
upset.
We get to the 9th hole, and it's this hole where you hit it out into the fairway, like 150 yards, and then you go up this giant hill. And at the top of the hill is the green next to the clubhouse, but there's a big giant oak tree in front of it, like, I swear. And I know this is wrong, but it seemed like it was 200 feet high. Just this giant tree. So I hit the ball out there and right where I'm supposed to, because I'm looking at the thing. I'm like, where am I supposed to hit? They're like, lay up out there. Hit it
Yeah.
out there. So 150 yards, I just pop it out there, simple. And I see him pull out his driver, and he's going to try to go over that tree because he wants to beat me. I could tell.
Okay, so if you're here and the hole is here, you said, I'll triangle it.
He's just, no, I hit it down to the middle, and then I was going to go up the hill. He was going to try to go over the tree straight to the green.
Okay.
Because it was only probably 150 yards here, but it was only 150 yards to the green, but you had to go over that tree, which was impossible.
Sure.
So I guess
And he
if
thought
you're-
he was going to rainbow it over the top of that
he
thing?
thought he was going to rainbow it over. He was going to cut the corner to beat me. I could
Yeah.
see it in his eyes.
Yeah.
So he hits it down, and it lands down there. I mean, I hit mine down, and it lands down there. He pulls out his driver, and he takes a giant swing. He tees the ball up, like the tee's barely in the ground. The ball's way off the ground,
Yeah.
and he
And he's
swings
gonna try-
under it.
Almost kind of like chipping it.
Yeah, he wants to pop it up really high over that tree. Hit it 200 feet high,
Yeah.
200 yards high, and then drop it down.
Yeah.
And so he swings super hard, but he gets under it.
Yeah.
And the ball goes like 100 feet in front of us, not even 100 feet, straight up, and then drops. and mine's way down there where it's supposed to be. He's going to have to get it again to even get it to where I'm at, even
Yeah.
close. He still can't go for the green.
So he chipped it too short. It didn't go over the tree.
Short, way
So he's
short.
closer to the tree, but
Yes.
didn't make it over.
No. And so he's so mad
Yep.
that he takes his club and he slings it, his driver, and he throws it and it goes whoo, 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 whoo.
Yeah.
And it lands beyond his ball.
Oh no!
And I said, look at that. You threw your club farther than you hit that ball. I couldn't resist.
You twisted the screws
You know what?
on
I
him.
couldn't resist.
You twisted the screws
because I could
on him.
see it, you know?
Yep.
And he took a step towards me like he's ready to fight.
Yeah.
And I said, that ain't a good idea, old man. And he stopped, and his buddy, there was two other guys, and they said, yeah, let's not do that.
Yeah.
Right? They kind of calmed him down.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget that. Well, when I got home, I went and told Bobby. And I told him I had shot, you know, like bogey golf, almost pretty good. And he said,
Yeah.
how many times have you played? And I said, that was my first time. And he said, oh, that's cool. Let me see your clubs. And I showed him my clubs, and they were leather gripped, these old crusty,
Yeah. 15-year-old
ugly.
clubs.
Yeah, look. I
Yep.
mean, Arnold Palmer played with them in the 50s. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's why they were at the thrift store for
Yep,
50 cents.
yep.
And so, so he's like, oh, that's cool. You're going to start playing golf? I said, it's kind of fun. I might try it, you know? And so a couple days later, he shows up at this house, at my house with a beautiful bag and a whole set of clubs. And I said, Bobby, I can't pay for these. And he says, yeah, you can. I said, what do I got to do? And he says, do it for your son when the time is right. And I said, oh, that's so great. And it was the sweetest, just,
Dang.
you know what? You can do it for your boy. When the time is right, you do it for
Sheesh,
him.
man.
And I thought, this is Bobby to a T, right? And I, you know what? And you know Bobby and Darlene, Shelly's mom and dad are salt of the earth.
Yeah.
The greatest people ever.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure everybody has that in
The
their
exact
life.
opposite of Roy, Grandpa Roy.
Yes, Grandpa Roy, who would rather beat us with a stick
Yep.
if we got too close.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't even know what we were talking about initially.
We were talking about
things we won't do.
things we won't do. Which
And maybe we covered things we would do too. right?
Yeah, and I had one more thing to say, but I don't even want to. I just want to talk about how much I love Bobby now. I just want to talk about good stuff, man. I do have one more that I could tell right now, but now I'm trying to think of more Bobby stories or something like that because I don't want to take it back
You know
to
what?
the negative
I'll
thing.
I'll share a Bobby story
Okay.
where I saw you and Zach.
Okay.
And Bobby had come into town and there was ice on the ground. It was the winter time.
Yep. So, and when you say coming to town, you mean up to Boise?
Up to Boise.
Because Grandpa Bobby and Grandma Darlene still live down in Texas.
Right. And
Yeah.
Bobby didn't travel very often. He doesn't travel.
Yeah.
And so we got up here and there was some ice around. And I'll never forget, we go pawn shopping because Zach used to love that.
Well, Grandpa
too.
Bobby's the ultimate pawn
yeah, yeah,
shopper.
yeah. Right. Well, I think that's probably where he bought the golf clubs. That is a pawn shop.
Yeah. And all his guns.
And all his guns. There you go.
Yeah.
All those stories go back to the
Yep,
pawn
yep.
shop.
By the way, I remember when we would spend the night over there or even just go over there to hang out at their place in Grand Prairie.
Yeah.
He had a gun magazine next to the toilet that I'm sure he was on. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Next to the toilet.
Yep, because
that's not
everybody
thing.
has a basket next to the toilet with your reading material, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
where you kept your Sports Illustrated.
That is where I kept it.
Grandpa kept the NRA fan club,
That's
NRA
right.
membership or whatever.
Yeah.
magazine.
Shooter's World.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so we go to this pawn shop and we all get out of the car, and I look over and you and Zach are flanking Bobby. Each of you have one of his arms, and just walking him through this ice to make sure he's safe. And I'm telling you, you didn't even see it, but I'm telling you, I'm like, holy crap. My eyes just welled up with tears, and I'm like, those are some good boys. They're taking care of old Bobby.
Oh, that's
because
awesome.
he wasn't moving great.
Yeah.
And I think he had some work done or something on his legs. Do you remember just
that made me, I got some clouds in my eyes too just now because
to see you
and you know, the other,
I didn't even have to say a word.
Not only did Grandpa Bobby love pawn shops, Grandpa Bobby loved to be included.
Oh yeah.
Right, and he loved to. He is the originator of the out and about attitude that I think
Yes.
I have and the
Right.
rest of us have.
Right.
That dude was like, let's go do something.
Yeah.
You know, he's like,
Yeah.
let's go look at pawn shops and then we'll stop off at a diner and get something to eat. You know, we'll go grab. We'll go
ice
grab
cream.
We'll
Let's
go grab
get ice
malts.
cream.
Yeah,
It was always something, and
Dude
your
was
mom
always
your mom
he's
wanted that.
always
too.
out and about, right?
Many
And
times.
so-
Yeah.
And so when we were like, hey, let's go run around, Grandpa Bobby put on his shoes and he put on his leather jacket, because he always had a leather jacket
Yep.
that he probably got from a pawn
Pawn shop, yeah.
right? And he was like, you know,
Let's go.
and yeah, and we wanted him to be along with us,
And just to see
the
you
ice
two
was
boys,
scary for him.
To see you two boys, I didn't say a word.
Yeah, we just kind of
You
linked
just
arms with
both
him.
of you ran over there, grabbed him, and took care of him as he got in.
Escorted him into the pawn
and then
shop.
you escorted him out, and I just watched you two, and I'm like, this is so. And you could almost feel him going, these boys are all right, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I know he knew that,
Yeah.
but I think
But we were also getting closer to adulthood too, and I'm sure as a grandparent, when you know, because you know them as children, right, and then at a certain point you detach, and maybe you don't see them for a little while, and then you come back in when they're entering adulthood, and you're like, okay, have these good boys turned into good men?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
as a grandparent, you know, and hopefully that was the evidence that
You know what? I think
we had transitioned into.
I think he saw it, and I
Good
know
man.
that he talked to Shelly and said, you know, those boys are good. You know, and that was her pride and joy is you guys, watching you guys do good things, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably every parent's pride and joy, you know.
Yeah.
Is seeing their kids that just go beyond anything they thought they were capable of, and even be better than them, right? That's
Yeah.
what we all hope for.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. I don't want to go back to what we started on. Like I said, I'm feeling too stoked about Bobby because he's the best.
right.
I got 2 quick Bobby stories, and then we'll wrap it up.
Let's do it.
Right? Grandpa Bobby is a huge Elvis fan.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
The biggest Elvis fan, right?
Yeah.
You remember the story I'm going to tell
I don't
you?
know. I think I do. Go ahead. Yeah.
And, you know, so every birthday, Christmas, it was some form of Elvis memorabilia.
We
usually.
found it. Yep.
Yeah. We
Sent
would
it
find
to
him some kind of knickknack that had Elvis on it, right?
Right.
So I remember we were out and about with him, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I think we were at a mall, and we wandered into a Borders bookstore or something like that, right? And I hear him from across the store go, I don't know why they're making such a big deal about that pervert.
He wasn't talking about Elvis.
No. That's what he said.
Loud enough for you to hear.
And
By
I
the way,
went-
he was a little deaf.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He
So-
would turn down his hearing aids so that he couldn't hear grandma sometimes. Yeah. Yeah, he was
So
selectively.
he didn't know how loud he was talking sometimes.
No.
Yeah.
So I poke my head around, and I'm like, what in the heck is he talking about, right? And I wander over, and he's looking at the magazines, right?
Right.
And he's looking straight at, it might have been Time magazine, right? And it says, rest in peace, the king of pop.
Oh,
It was a
Michael
magazine
Jackson.
about Michael Jackson.
Gotcha.
Right?
Yeah.
And he
He didn't like that.
didn't like Michael Jackson,
Yeah.
right?
Because he was an Elvis.
Because I don't think he liked anybody being referred to the king of
anything except for the king.
except for the king.
Yes.
Right?
That is Elvis. Yeah.
And so he thought fit to announce, I think it's an injustice that they're putting this pervert on the front of Time magazine.
Yeah.
Which is especially funny because we know what Elvis was into in his
Elvis-
lifetime.
Yeah. I think there might have been some cognitive confirmation bias.
Yeah.
there.
He
Anything-
selectively,
remember things Elvis
Yeah.
did great, and
because Elvis, was a bit of a hound dog himself.
he
you know
kind of
what I mean?
was. Yeah.
So-
And you know what? Speaking of Elvis, for
Sure.
years I don't think you knew that. I would say lemonade, a cool, refreshing drink.
Sure. Yeah, I remember
And you had
doing
no
that.
idea
Yeah.
what it was from until you finally found out it was somebody who was saying that Elvis was such a good singer that they put him in movies and they didn't have him do the lines.
He would just sing
He would
everything.
just sing.
Was it like a comedian or
Yeah,
something?
yeah. And he
Okay,
said,
okay.
you know, here, you want
Yeah.
some lemonade, Elvis? Lemonade. a cool,
Yeah.
refreshing
He was
drink.
he was
Yeah, yeah.
so handsome, but
Hey,
such a bad
Elvis,
actor.
Elvis, you gonna win the race? I'm gonna win this race. But the lemonade, for years, I would say, anytime I saw lemonade anywhere, lemonade.
Yeah.
And you guys were like, why did you keep saying that?
Yeah.
And for years,
And that was a joke about Elvis
that
being
was
a bad
joke
actor.
about Elvis being a bad actor. Yeah. Yeah.
That's funny.
But
Okay.
yeah.
Last Grandpa Bobby story, and then we'll
I like where
we'll
this
wrap-
went.
I know, me too. Yeah, me too. Me too. Maybe at some point I'll tell you the phrase that got said to me as a kid. Never mind. Anyway, no, I don't want to go. I'm gonna forget it anyway.
Okay.
Last Grandpa Bobby story. Same thing, out and about, and I remember specifically we were in a Kohl's,
Okay.
the department store, right?
Okay.
And it was around the time that Kohl's was still kind of a new thing, I think.
Right.
Right. And so Mom really liked going to Kohl's.
Yeah.
Not so much later on, but when it was new,
Early on.
she really liked it. And so we were out and about with Grandpa Bobby, and I remember Mom being there. We were walking around to Kohl's, right? And same thing, I hear Grandpa Bobby from 3 aisles over speak a little bit louder than he meant to.
Yeah.
And the thing he said this time is, "Who backfired?"
Yeah, we know what that meant to Bobby.
Grandpa Bobby,
He got somebody farting.
he got a whiff of something that he did not like, and he wanted to know,
Yeah.
who backfired?
Was he saying it to one of you boys, or was he just?
He was saying it to the universe, man. And you know what I loved, what I think I love the most about it
Yeah.
is that Mom thought it was funny.
Mom loved it.
Mom
Yeah.
thought it was funny.
Yeah.
Right? I think if it had been one of us boys or anything,
She wouldn't have.
she
cared
wouldn't
for
have
it.
she wouldn't have been into it.
Right.
But it being her own dad, she could not stop laughing.
She would start giggling.
Which gave us permission to laugh
Oh
at
yeah,
it too.
and if she
right?
got tickled, it was on, boy.
Yep.
The giggling would start, and
Yep.
it wouldn't stop for 2 hours. There
Yep.
would just be
Yep. And we
painful
were
stomachs, cheeks
and
sore.
and she would look at us and we would look at her, and the whole rest of that shopping trip we were giggling back and forth about
Yeah.
Grandpa Bobby yelling the word backfire.
And you know, I don't know that I ever heard Bobby laugh out loud.
No, he had a chuckle.
Oh, he had a little chuckle, but he never like
Sure,
belly
sure,
laughed.
sure. Yeah.
But he liked humor because you could see him smiling
Yeah,
and
yeah,
enjoying
yeah.
it.
Well, I
But
don't
he
think
just wasn't
I don't think he laughed along with us because, like you said, he didn't have that same kind of laugh.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, he was smiling about it.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's a cue. We'll go ahead and finish it up.
Sounds good.
Cool. See you,
Thanks,
everybody.
guys.